haven't seen him here yet. Okay.
No, Rebecca is. I'm just.
She's kicking us
a
off.
warm welcome. Yeah.
I'm going to stand near you because I have a little mic on, and he'll pick it up for the. Sure. I am so used to that. You want me to get everybody's attention, or are you good at that?
Oh, no, you can. That's fine.
All right. Everybody, we're going to get started. Ruth, take it away.
Hello. I'll wait till everybody can have a seat. Thank you for coming out. My name is Ruth Rivera. I was born and raised here. This is my parish that I used to go to when I was a child, about this high, about this tall. Hadn't changed. Thank you for coming out this evening. We're here again for our next meeting for the master plan, where we really want to have everyone's input and make sure that everyone's aware of what's going on, and you know, they can't say, oh, we didn't know. So we want to make sure that you know. So we're spreading the word out and letting you know where we're at with that. So thank you for coming, and I'm going to let Rebecca take over.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you so much. Great. All right. Thank you, Ruth. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. I'm Rebecca Leonard with Lionheart. We are doing the downtown master plan. There's a few folks with me here. We have Olivia, and we have Andrew in the back, and then we have Jess. Where's Jess? Oh, she's way in the back there. We will be around all evening to answer questions as long as you all have them. We do have a very short introductory presentation. We'll take a few general questions, and then we'll try to get everybody out to the board so that you can start asking your specific questions about things, okay? Let's get into it. So this is our process. We are actually on step 3 of a step 4 process. We call this process the create process because we've got new ideas out here on these boards. And we'll tell you a little bit about those at a high level in this presentation, and then we'll go to the boards and we can dive in more detail to those things as we move forward. These meetings around the edges are the stakeholder engagement that we've been having. This is our second big community meeting. We had one with, I think it was like 130-ish people at the library in the summer. We have a steering committee, which is the Main Street board, which also doubles as the TERS board, and they've met several times already, 3 or 4 times. And then we've given a couple updates to City Council. So, you know, hopefully you've been engaging as we go along. Is anybody new to the downtown planning process? Okay, so we have a couple new people. That's great. We are, you probably all picked up a handout on your way in, and if you didn't, you could raise your hand and maybe Jess could get you one of it. But it shows you the area that we're really talking about, which is just the area downtown, north and south of the bridge. There's a boundary on here, which is the TERS boundary. We're roughly staying in and around the TERS boundary. But some of the goals are about like connecting to things outside of the TERS boundary, so we have some thoughts about things out there too. So we're looking forward to it. The last plan was written in 2015, so it's just time to update it. You know, the city really got busy, the TERS board got busy updating or implementing that previous plan, and we need to get new ideas out on the table of what to do next. So that's kind of the purpose of this study. All right, so at the previous meeting, we spent some time talking about the goals of the project, getting community engagement around the goals of the project. I'm just going to hit on a few of those. A couple goals around economic development, ensuring the downtown is fiscally sustainable and vibrant, really supporting the community and all the needs of the downtown. Improving navigation and accessibility. There's, you know, you've got people, locals and people from out of town coming to your downtown, needing to know where to park and where to shop and where to go and where to find a restroom and all the things that you need when you're downtown. So talking a little bit about that. We've got a few goals around social fabric, we call it, and encouraging a mix of uses: housing, office, employment, and retail. So you'll see some ideas about where could some of those things go in the downtown, and we've drawn some things there. Expand mobility options and connectivity, so making sure people can get here from a lot of different modes of transportation, by their feet, by bicycles, by cars, by trucks, by train, all the things. Be a destination for social life in Taylor, for residents and visitors. There was a lot of conversations about that at the last meeting. Entertainment, restaurants, a place where you go to see your neighbors, festivals, all kinds of things along those lines. We have a couple goals around environmental enhancement. The first one is about increasing human comfort, shade, noise, safety. Those are things that came up a lot in our first community meeting. Access to nature and recreation. You've got a lot of nature surrounding your downtown. It is slightly outside the TERS boundaries, but trying to find ways to connect out to it. It's still very close and very walkable to downtown, from downtown to those places and back and forth. Then we have a couple goals around art and culture. Preserve and celebrate local heritage. Lots of the great festivals in Taylor happen in the downtown spaces. Really, and the historic buildings, the stories that you have to tell about the history of downtown Taylor, north and south, are pretty amazing, and getting those stories kind of baked into the plan and the vision. Encourage the integration of the arts into the urban fabric. So there's been a lot of art and talent in this community for decades, and if not a century or more, and really finding places to spotlight that more in the downtown. Murals, sculptures, all kinds of things, paintings and temporary, permanent festivals for musicians, and all of that stuff kind of falls into that goal. All right, so tonight we're going to have a pretty singular focus on projects, but this plan will incorporate projects, programs, and policies. So some things you might want to do is like revisit, some development constraint or something, or you might want to organize a, weekend cleanup crew or something like that. We will talk about those, but that's going to be at the next meeting. We're really on this meeting focused around projects. Think shovels, bulldozers, things like that. Kind of physical improvements to the downtown. So let's get into it. I'm going to go over the framework with you a little bit, and you all have one of these, I hope. And if you don't, raise your hand. We're all good. Okay. We've got it in English and Spanish, so that can help anybody understand where we're headed here. The ideas that we're talking about tonight really fall under 4 categories. We have a category that we're calling new and enhanced gathering spaces. Sometimes it's a park, but sometimes it's a private, space that people gather in, near a restaurant, or, for example, some of the alleys. We've got some ideas about how to improve the alleys and make those a little bit more of a gathering place. So we've got some ideas about that. And as I mentioned, this TERS boundary, you can kind of see it as the dotted line on this plan, the black dotted line. It doesn't reach to Old Taylor High or to Bull Branch, it does touch briefly here at Mustang Creek, but the idea is to identify those as nearby amenities that we can connect to from the downtown. Because there's people in your community who might ride their bike in here and come into their downtown, or walk, go hiking and come into the downtown. Or there might be visitors who come to, ride trails or see the nature that you have here in Taylor. And so what if we could also capture them down here for lunch or a coffee or, some shopping on their way to and from. So we've got kind of a whole suite of those. We have some ideas around streetscapes, and so you see a variety of line types in here. We've got a big dotted line along Main Street. We've got some recommendations for a variety of enhancements to Main Street, north and south. We've got what we're calling them kind of multimodal streets. They're East MLK, we've got Rio Grande, we've got 9th Street, etc., 3rd Street. These are ones where we've got some variety of recommendations about how can we get, cars, trucks, bikes, people in those spaces. And then we have the next level, which is more pedestrian-oriented and vehicular-oriented streets. And then we have sort of specialty streets, like 2nd Street connecting to the new City Hall. The alleys fall in that as well. So those are all over there on that board, and we can go into more detail about those. We've got some ideas around the Main Street Bridge, what to do with the Main Street Bridge, under it, around it, on top of it. Would like to get your feedback on that tonight as well. And then finally, because we have some goals about infill and destination things, we've looked at some infill opportunities in the downtown, just trying to get your initial feedback on, yeah, more of this, less of that kind of thing. And so that's essentially the framework of the physical improvements, kind of fall in those categories. And there's a lot of content on each of these boards related to each of those. And we aren't going to go over all the details in this presentation because we'll be, looking at little cross sections and things. It'd be much better for you to get up to the board and have us around to ask those questions too. But I kind of went through this actually a little bit. This is the new and enhanced gathering spaces. As I mentioned, it touches on improving access to nature and recreation, being a destination for social life, preserving and celebrating local heritage, and encouraging the integration of the arts in the urban fabric. So this plan here is right over there. There's more detail around these gathering places. You can see some old ideas and some new ideas, and then different levels of ideas for these things. One of the things we're going to ask you to do on that is to tell us, just generally speaking, we don't have dollar figures yet. We don't know how many dollars this is going to cost yet because we don't know how much you want to do, which projects are kind of a priority for you and which ones aren't. So we're kind of getting a first taste at your priorities tonight. And then at the next meeting, we'll have more information around kind of relative costs and how these things would get paid for and partnered on. So, so what we're going to ask you tonight, each one of these boards here, each idea has 4 levels of investment that the city could make and the TERS could make. Usually the first level is just a focus on minor enhancements, maybe some signage, a couple benches, that kind of thing. Then you work up all the way to, in many cases, sometimes you have to buy land or, bring in large equipment and build, new parks like Heritage Square, for example, happened after the last downtown plan, so an investment of that scale. So there's 4 levels on this gathering spaces, and you can weigh in over here on that board, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit more. On the streetscapes, we've got, you can see there's something like 20 plus streetscapes over there. Basically, these ideas were stemming from the goal of improving navigation and accessibility in your community, expanding mobility options and connectivity. Oops, I've got a possessed thing. Here we go, streetscapes. And then increasing human comfort. Because some of the streetscapes there might be a sidewalk there, but there's no shade and it doesn't feel safe to some folks. And so we've made some recommendations around that, okay? And again, for each street that we're talking about, we've got 4 levels of investment and we want to hear from you. What's the right level that we should be thinking about here? Is it an entire street reconstruction or is it just a few benches and maybe some trash cans? And anything in between. And so we've got some questions in there about that. The Main Street Bridge, increasing human comfort and safety, improving navigation, encouraging the integration of arts, because some of our ideas are about activating the space under the Main Street Bridge, being a destination for social life in Taylor, and kind of bridging the north and the south. So there's a whole bunch of ideas on that, and I believe that's this board right over here. And so if you're interested in those ideas, weigh in on that. And then the infill I mentioned. We again have some ideas about north downtown and south downtown Taylor. And just, you know, again, they're just ideas. They're definitely not all on public land, so you may own some of these parcels. We want to hear from you about like your ideas for your land if you have it there. It's not that this plan will come out and say that is the only thing that can happen there. It's to demonstrate how we can have more vibrancy, how we can have more of a mixed use, how we can have more of a destination quality in the downtown. So you guys can kind of tell us if we're on point or off base here. So, and again, there will be 4 levels of improvements here on this one, ranging from the city could just help market some of these parcels, you know, to somebody who might be interested in doing a development on them, all the way to the city could buy the land and they could do a development, partner with a private sector person to develop that. So there's a range here, and we'd like to hear from you what you think the role of the city is. It's generally speaking, so it's not about any particular given parcel, but if you have a thought about this is an opportunity for level 3, but this one's about level 4, we'd love to hear that from you as well. All right, so the activities for tonight are, I've mentioned this level of investment, and you should have received some blue dots and some gold stars. Did you all get those? Anybody need any? Yes? Can you raise your hand if you need it, and Jess will bring it to you. Okay, Ruth needs one right up here. She came in and we scooped her up and didn't give her a chance. All right, so a lot of times the level 4 improvements, these can be added onto over time, level 1 through 3 in many cases, and sometimes 4 too. Like you could just keep adding. You put a few benches out this year, and then maybe you know, put some bump outs just in spray paint and things the next year, and then you put some permanent bump outs in there, or you know, then level 4 would be you tear out the whole street and you build it fresh with the curb where you want it. And so what we're thinking is just to kind of make sure everybody is prioritizing and not just telling us they want all of it, you know. We gave you 6 blue dots that you can put on any of these boards in these first 3 areas, levels 1 through 3. And then we gave you 3 gold stars to tell us 3 level 4s that you might be interested in supporting. And maybe you have 0 level 4s. You're like, we don't need to spend that money. You know, that's fine too, just don't use them. You know, you could sell them on the black market to your friends and neighbors. But we're trying to get to priorities. Like, what are your priorities? This street, that bridge, this thing, what level of opportunity you're interested in. So, so like, for example, this is the gathering space board. And there's level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Put your blue dots in here if you want to. If you think a priority is let's get some trails and some signage and benches connected out to all of these, you know, green spaces, and that's it. That's all I'm comfortable with. You could put a blue dot here. If you're ready to start building amenities and things like that, different scales of amenities, you can put your blue dots there. If you're ready to build some full-on park spaces, in some of the areas we've shown as green, you might put a gold star there, okay? Same with the streetscapes. There's all these streetscapes. The left column is generally TxDOT streets, so Main Street, North and South, and then also MLK. The middle is kind of all the other standard city streets. And then the right column is kind of the special streets like 2nd Street, Festival Street, the alleys, that sort of thing. 1st Street is in that column. So you would put your blue dots on the level that you think is the right approach. And then you'd put a gold dot if this is one of your 3 projects of all of them that you think is worth tackling, you'll put your gold dot there, okay, in the level 4. All right, and then on the infill boards, which are the ones closest to me here, we're not really asking for this so much because each parcel kind of needs to be thought of special, but we are just asking for your general thoughts around what we're showing here. Like, don't like what you did at this corner, like what you did there, you could have done more in this place. That's the kind of feedback we're looking for tonight, is just how did we do? We tried to respect sort of some of the height limitations and be a good neighbor to the adjacent buildings and things like that, but we'd love to hear from y'all. Did we get it right? Because, there's lots of room for interpretation, right?
And do they, when they have those comments, is that what the
Yes, yeah. And we'll all be standing around these boards here, so we'll help y'all. Does anybody have any questions before we kind of break up? Yes, sir.
Yeah, when we talked at the last city council, you said that you were going to send out documents, or like a website link so we can look at this back home and all the people that aren't here can see it.
Yes, we are going to put it up on the website. Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the presentation is currently on the website.
So just need to know how to find it.
Yeah, it's on the city's website. See Olivia, she'll get that for you.
Yeah, the city's website.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
A question about, I saw that we had alleys on there. Maybe if you could go back to the slide with the Main Street Bridge. I'm glad, so Tom and Brian are still here. So one of the things, my understanding on the alleys is that is a responsibility of the property owners, which is why in Taylor our alleys, the only thing that could drive down is a Humvee or a tank. But my question is, if we redevelop that into something that has, bistros or something nice, then whose financial responsibility is it after the investment is made, like the years after that, for the maintenance part of it?
Yeah, you'll see there are 4 levels on that idea as well. And so it kind of, at some point on those levels, it's more than just the property owners. It would be the city, the TERS that would kind of have to partner on some of those ideas. Level 1 is really just fix the lighting. We had a meeting with Encore and we were like, well, we want to fix some of the lighting and we want to do this and that. And they were like, well, just tell us where the lights are and we'll fix them. So like level 1 is pretty basic and might not change, the way things are done at all, except for just get some of the backlog of maintenance done. Level 2 starts to get into, okay, maybe a few more benches, some signage, things like that. Those are things the TERS could help with, the city could help with. And then as you work up all the way to level 4, which is all the materials in this alley might be changed, because one of the ideas on level 4 is that maybe some of the power lines get put underground, all new pavers in the alley. So it's a really top to bottom. All 4 walls of this alley are designed, And so that's an example of the 4 levels. And as you get closer to level 4, it's going to take more dollars from the city and the TERS. And down to level 1 could still be the way things are today, where the property owners sort of maintain the alleys and things. Also on the alleys, you'll see as we increase the level of investment, we're also suggesting some that the city take a role in sort of aggregating some of the dumpsters into one location, and maybe even helping support buying the better dumpster equipment, stuff that would make it nicer, so that you could use the alley as kind of a more pedestrian way and the dumpsters won't be an issue as much. Sharing some loading and unloading, those kinds of partnerships would come. If y'all tell us you want to kind of go that route, then we can kind of figure out what the partnerships would take for us to get there. Yeah. So you'll see nothing here was like one level. Everything has a variety of levels, at least 4 levels. Just for that reason, we want to hear from you. What do you think is the right level of investment that we should be making? Yes.
Do you have in your levels of investment just some basic things like improving crosswalks and big flashers like
Yes.
really are like baseline.
Yeah. We do. Yes. I think that was level 2. Is that right? I think most of the time.
Crosswalks.
Yeah.
Adding some signalized crosses, yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you're thinking that we haven't expressed enough on something, we want to hear that too. This is, we've got lots of time, a few more turns of the wheel here to get it dialed into exactly how y'all want it to read. Yes, ma'am.
So what about public transportation?
Yeah, so unless there's a physical improvement, at this point, like I said, we're talking about projects, physical enhancements to the downtown. If you want to tell me that there needs to be bus stops in certain locations, we can definitely add that as a project. There's definitely room on the back here to document ideas that you're not seeing, up here. If it's about more frequency of transit or, better advertising or signage or something, then that might be more of a program and a policy that we can get into at the next meeting. So, okay? But if it's bus stops and things like that, or improvements to Amtrak, or improvements to carts or whatever, write that down. We'll get that. Yes?
Transportation, that was really big for my family growing up.
Yes.
My mother couldn't drive because she has epilepsy, and my dad was a firefighter. So there were times that the only way to get around the city was by public transportation, and so that was
Yeah.
a big push for me and my family.
Yeah.
And I know Taylor doesn't have public transportation.
Well, I mean, you're aware of carts, right? Yeah. But not enough, apparently. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other big questions? All right. Before I lose y'all, though, I do want to say, just to give you an idea, so after this meeting, and you can look at this stuff online, this recording will be online, the presentation will be online. We'll also put these things online, and you can tell your friends who aren't here tonight to weigh in on what level they like to see on these projects. After all of that, we will have another advisory board meeting, which is the Main Street Board. That'll be sometime in January. And then we're going to have a third stakeholder dialogue, which again, we'll recap this, like what we heard from y'all, but then we'll focus on programs and policies at that one, and how we're going to get it implemented will be the key of that one. And I hope you'll join us at that point too, and bring like 20 friends with you at that one as well. So. All right, without any further ado, we're going to go stand by these boards. We hope you'll get up there and you'll vote with your blue dots and your gold stars, okay?